A day after millions of Americans from big cities, small towns, townships across the country and around the world came together to have their voices heard, specifically with a message directed at one person, and that person's desire to obtain more control over this country.
I love democracy. I don't love what's happening with this country right now. All our constitutional rights are being trampled on. Laws are totally being disregarded. The courts are being disregarded.
This is what our founding fathers fought against. A tyrant king who acts without consent, without our representation, and without consequence.
We're tired of what he's doing, with the government and how he's taking over, and he basically wants to be a king, and we don't accept kings in the United States,
Trump has enfolded a supine Congress and a Supreme Court with 6 very conservative members into a single branch of government, his.
Yesterday's historic protests come at a moment when this country remains at war with Iran solely at the decision of President Trump, who is reportedly considering sending more U.S. troops to the region. Also at a moment when ICE agents who have aggressively ramped up operations under Trump's direction are now being deployed to U.S. airports, raising concerns about where the president could send them next. And at a moment when Trump's Justice Department is arguing in court that this administration is entitled to seize local county election records in an unprecedented move. And while it looks to expand its efforts in more states ahead of a potentially game-changing midterm election, it's also a moment when Trump is trying to ram through a voting overhaul bill that could disenfranchise millions of you watching. Joining us now, Skye Perryman, President and CEO of Democracy Forward, and Norm Eisen, founder and executive chair of the Democracy Defenders Fund and former special counsel and special assistant to President Obama. It's a very depressing read on the way in, but here we are. Skye, you were out in D.C. yesterday, I think. You have said in the past that courage has become the new currency.
Yeah.
Yesterday, according to the organizers, 8 million people showed up. What does that currency do for the legal fight ahead?
It fuels it. But look, this is really remarkable. I mean, last year, Donald Trump and his allies tried to not only scare people from taking to the streets, saying that they were going to end up on lists at the White House, they were going to be prosecuted. I mean, this is what they did. Then when people showed up in October, millions of people, they sort of just tried to, change their tune and sort of minimize it. Yesterday, you hear almost silence out of them. They may not want to admit that it's happening, but this is historic. It was the largest, we understand, single day of protest in U.S. history, and that continues to fuel. But, we're overseeing hundreds of cases against this administration. And what we have been seeing in the courts from almost day one is now what people are seeing in the streets, where people are stepping up as powerful institutions have pulled back. So I thought it was a great day for courage.
Yeah.
Norm, I want to talk to you about, there's a lot of Trumpy overreach here in every which way. And one of them is this Todd Blanche he was at CPAC as first of all, should someone who works in the federal government, in the DOJ, which is technically not supposed to be an arm of the Trump campaign, be at CPAC? And then he also mused about any number of things that I think are pretty wild. Talking about FBI purges at the FBI with people in the FBI who are involved in Trump cases, but I also want you to talk about him musing about sending ICE to polling places. Go.
Well, Molly, when I was the White House ethics czar, we never would have allowed the members of the DOJ to participate in these kinds of political, partisan activities that just by showing up there, Todd Blanche, and putting the force of the Department of Justice and the criminal prosecution arm of the government, the scariest thing you can do, behind a political agenda, that's wrong. But the good news is, in this aftermath of No Kings, that together with wonderful allies, like Democracy Forward at the Democracy Defenders Fund and Democracy Defenders Action. Latest count, 283 legal matters and cases that push back on Todd Blanche. For example, we developed the theory that Trump and Blanche were putting phony, crony U.S. attorneys in all over the country. We got them thrown out, and then that was used to block the Tish James and Jim Comey prosecution, where a bunch of our judges filed a brief. So on No Kings, we're pushing back in the court of law and in the court of public.
So my
opinion.
follow-up is, what can you do to prevent ICE from being at polling? It's not normal. It's not legal. Can you are there cases that will support that theory?
Yes, we've been litigating against Trump's election takeover moves from day one. Remember, he's already tried something similar. He did an executive order to take over our elections. Right. With great allies. We went to court. We stopped him. He said, they didn't let me do that. I know. I'll redistrict the whole country so I don't lose the House of Representatives. Guess what? We represented those brave Texas legislators who traveled to sound the alarm. Then we went to court and stopped it. We're litigating across the country on other ballot misconduct, the seizures of the ballots. We're stopping that. If he tries it with ICE, Molly, we will be in court in a heartbeat and we'll shut it down. There's no legal basis to put ICE at the polls. And, of course, Todd Blanche talked about that, too.
And I think in addition to being in court, which we will be in court every day, and the president's losing, I just want to continue to remind people, losing so often. I mean, last week we won yet another court order before a judge that President Trump himself appointed. But in addition to that, this is going to be a moment for the American people. I mean, people were asking yesterday, this is amazing, 8 million people. What is this all about? You know what it's about? It's about getting ready, because the American people are not going to have their votes taken away, but it's going to take every single person. We're calling on all Americans to stand with their neighbors, to be there, to be at the polls, to help people not be intimidated. So there's going to be that people power part of that, too, which will be essential, but we will definitely be in court.
Something that I think neither of you are not litigating, at least in this moment, perhaps this will plant a seed, is everything that Trump has decided to put his name, likeness, or signature on during his second term. The Times just put together a pretty extensive list that includes U.S. currency, commemorative Trump coins, Trump Kennedy Center, the Donald J. Trump Institute of Peace, Trump Gold Card, Trump RX, Trump accounts, Trump class warships, and F-57 warplanes. That is the U.S. Air Force's newest jet that's named after the 47th president. Is there a legal basis to potentially challenge what he's doing here?
You've already seen some, but you'll see challenges. I mean, this is not what we do in the United States.
Well, some of them are things that only Congress can change the name.
Correct. So this is, again, I mean, this is part of this pattern.
Is there any sort of a corruption basis to challenge him on?
There's usually, there are federal laws ignoring Congress, and that's really going to be the main thing that the courts can do. And then there's the corruption. And the corruption pieces will require people raising their voices. It will also require a number of other tools. Norm has a case that you can talk about, I'm sure.
Of course they do. There is no one in court.
I didn't see it on this notepad.
It's a joke on the weekend. It's like a ticker. How many? They like me to say the number. We have two of those cases, Jackie. We have the Kennedy Center case, where we're so honored to represent Representative Joyce Beatty. She's so courageous. We won a TRO to get her in the White House to the Kennedy Center board meeting so she could confront Donald Trump. And if you know Joyce, she did. We now are in court seeking emergency relief. We're going to stop the renaming. We're going to scrape that name, Trump, off the Kennedy Center building. As Sky says, Congress didn't permit it. We're going to stop the shutdown. There's no reason to shut down the Kennedy Center. And we're also litigating the gold card case. Why should Trump be able to give these gold cards with preferential treatment to wealthy people from all over the world? Let his cronies in this country? No. So we are fighting it. And we always tell the courts this is part of the Trump corruption We've never seen anything like it in modern times.
Sky, you do a lot of work with democracy. There's this, yes, there's this Harvard Kennedy School research that talks about this 3.5 rule, how a small minority can change the world. The idea is that peaceful protests, if you get but more than 3.5% of the population protesting nonviolently, talking in this way, that it can bring about change. Talk to us.
This is how we've always made change in this country, and it's how democratic movements operate across the world. Anything that you like about this country, it's because people stood up, ordinary people stood up and stepped forward in order to make their voices heard, and that's exactly what we saw yesterday, and it's what we're seeing across the country. It's also why we are spending so much time at Democracy Forward, along with our partners, helping people see what is happening. Every single day, there's a new case filed in the courts where often the president is losing. Every single day, there's a community somewhere in the country where ordinary people are stepping forward and saying, you're not going to do this to our neighbors. The president wants you to believe that there's nothing that you can do, that he's going to seize the elections, he's going to have ICE on the streets. There's nothing that you can do. And the American people are pushing back and saying, no, there is something we can do. We're not going to let this country and this democracy go down without hearing from the people. And so I think that this is what we have to continue to do. This is the beginning, not the end. You're going to see, more and more millions of people groundswell over the next year, for sure.
Sky Perryman, Norm Eisen's Notebook, and Norm Eisen. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.